A very good evening to everybody on this Saturday, the final day of both May as well as meteorological spring. How is everybody doing? Welcome to the 143rd edition of the Global Weather Report, live here from Mark Hogan Weather HQ in Edmonton, Rossshire. I'm delighted to be joining you on this fine evening. We do have quite a moody day of weather out there. We've been seeing some heavy downpours. We've felt some nice warm sunshine as well. It has been quite a mixed bag, it has to be said, over the last week or so. The final week of May has been a very unsettled one, it has to be said. But let me just try and tune in and find out how everybody is doing on this Saturday evening, the 31st of May. So, good afternoon to Chris A. How are you doing, my friend? Thank you for tuning in. Also, good afternoon, or good evening, should I say, to Paul James down in sunny Hampshire. How are you doing, Paul? Thanks for taking the time out to, not only view, but moderate today's stream as well. So, thank you very much, my friend. Yes, it is an unusual day to be doing a live stream, but couple of reasons. Got a couple of things on tomorrow, and as well as that, I chose to do the 6:30 time slot today because the Champions League final is on this evening, and I would imagine quite a lot of people want to tune in to that. So I was trying my best to kind of get an even balance between doing a stream and not clashing with the all-important live the Champions League final this evening. Been battling, in fact, this afternoon to try and finish off the ideas with regards to the June forecast. I released last evening the 2025 written Atlantic hurricane season forecast as well. So it has been a very, very hectic past week or so. Obviously, last week was the release of the summer forecast for Europe as well. So I'm actually quite looking forward to getting tonight over with, because after this, I can actually sit back and relax a little bit. I might pour myself a nice drink and sit and watch the football in a little while. So good evening to everybody on this Saturday evening, 31st of May, final day of May and meteorological spring. It's hard to believe we are starting summer, meteorologically speaking anyway, tomorrow. So good evening to Chris Fletcher as well. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is. You can see, let me just see here. So afternoon, Keith. Afternoon, Mark. I hope you're well. We've got the evening from a humid Hampshire, says Paul. We've got Atten Woodsman tuning in. Good afternoon to you. I'm going to say good afternoon all evening and this throughout this stream, so I do apologise for that, for mucking that up. I'm just that used to doing an afternoon live stream as opposed to an early evening. Good evening as well to David Vogan down in Kirkintilloch. Hello from a very wet Kirkintilloch. Just a wee visit to let you know I'm in the support. Did sit back and relax and have a nice weekend. Yes, I hope you managed to get some break from the phone, and you can just sit back, relax, and enjoy your evening, Dad. So good evening to yourself down in Kirkintilloch. Yes, it has been a very showery Saturday here in the north of Scotland, but I know that has been the case across many areas of the country. Is anybody watching the Champions League tonight? Is it on BBC? Let me know actually in the live chat. This is the handy thing about being on live as well. I can ask questions and I'll get the answers back, hopefully. Is it on, I believe it's on normal TV, yeah? Let me know because I want to sit back and tune into that. So we are going to talk about the June forecast. We're also going to look at the global picture, as we always do. We'll look back at the month of May and the month or the season as a whole. It will be one of the warmest and driest springs on record. I think what's interesting about this final week of May is the fact that we've seen a fair old amount of rain. I have to be quite honest and say that it has probably rained a lot more than anticipated. So it's blown out the water. This idea of one of the driest Mays on record. I think it's not going to be anywhere near as dry as thanks to the amount of rain that's fallen in a fairly short period of time. Now, what another aspect that might play into this is the fact that we've got such very warm waters compared to normal west of the UK and Ireland, and I think what that's going to do is that could be an increase in the amount of water vapour in the atmosphere and helping create even more rainfall than perhaps would have fallen had the waters been cooler surrounding the British Isles. And obviously we're seeing a big change. I think most of this spring has been driven by that second earliest final stratospheric warming. I'll get there. So it's the second earliest final stratospheric warming on record. I think 2016 is the record. I think that's played a massive role in terms of how persistently blocked this spring has been. But one of the reasons why I think we've seen such a dramatic flip is the fact that we've seen the Madden-Julian oscillation, which is that area of convection that I talk about all the time. It has been becoming more amplified, more influential, more stronger within the Indian Ocean and the maritime continent. And I think what that's done is it's enhanced the strength of the jet over the Pacific. Then that's had a ripple effect over North America and over the Atlantic. And it's essentially reshaped and recast the entire northern hemispheric atmosphere. That is my thinking anyway, rightly or wrongly. I think the spring has been dominated by that early final stratospheric warming, and now what's happened is we've seen the MJO come back to life, and that has then kind of given the cattle prod to the atmosphere that it's needed to create a change. The biggest concern is we're going to start to see Rossby wave, basically propagate eastwards around the northern hemisphere, creating a ripple effect in the hemisphere. We've got a lot of heat that is getting lifted northwards thanks to that ripple effect within the temperate region, and we have the potential to see some really, really significant warmth into the month of spring. We shall wait and see what happens. There is nothing written in stone by any stretch, but certainly some very interesting things going on here. So, not watching the footy, F1 more important, says Paul James. We've got Keith Fletcher saying, yes, it's on TNT, but I have got it for free on Discovery Plus. So it's not actually a normal TV. That might cause an issue. Unless, is it possible it's going to be shown live on YouTube? I'm not sure. Again, you can let me know. Richard Gray saying, hi Mark, really keen to know what July has in store. Harvest time on the farm. Richard, certainly the ideas for the month of June's coming up. Do check out the European summer forecast that was released last Sunday with regards to July. It's obviously still quite a long way off. My ideas are that it's going to be a very volatile, mixed July, as is the case even with June. But we'll get to June in a little bit. We will look at that. But stay tuned, Richard. We're going to look at the longer term stuff in the days and weeks ahead, my friend. I can't really give you any kind of, definitive answer to that at this point in time. But nevertheless, hope you can stick around, my friend. But anyway, so let me know if YouTube is potentially showing the football live this evening. I would be curious to know that. Looks like a tropical rainforest here, says Atin. Atin, I hope that's the right pronunciation, by the way. If it isn't, I do apologise. Please don't take offence. I'm rather poor sometimes at butchering names, or very good at butchering names, should I say. But whereabouts are you, my friend? Let me know in the live chat where folks are tuning in from on this Saturday evening. Things should be back to normal next weekend. Tropical Outlook will be released tomorrow. That's looking at the hurricane forecast and looking at the current situation within the global tropics. And next weekend, it should be a tropical outlook each and every Saturday and the live stream on Sunday. So it should be back to a normal schedule next weekend and hopefully beyond that as well. Just a little bit of a shuffle up this weekend due to a couple of things. But we have got currently 14 viewers on at the moment. Be sure to hit that like button. It certainly helps me out. Lets myself and YouTube know that you're enjoying the content. It helps the algorithm of the channel as well. So tropical outlooks will be released every Saturday from now on. Obviously, meteorological summer begins tomorrow. The hurricane forecast for the Atlantic Basin also begins tomorrow. We do have the East Pacific with Alvin. It is weakening as it moves north into cooler waters and more hostile atmosphere. But we do have a system in the East Pacific. That is the latest first development within the Northern Hemisphere since 1998, which is rather interesting. Good evening to Sing Splint. Hope you're well, and thanks for tuning in on this Saturday evening. Final day of meteorological spring. It will go down as one of the warmest, driest springs on record. Obviously, with regards to the month of May, it's probably nowhere near one of the driest now, given how much rainfall we've seen. But let's have a quick look then at the CDAS for the month of May so far. This is how things are looking. So stay tuned, hang fire, because I'm going to be talking about the June ideas coming up, and then hopefully not that long after this video is finished, I will hopefully try and release the June outlook on marfoganweather.com, and then obviously in the next few days I'm going to add to that. I quite like to look at the extremes highlights from the month just ending, both for the UK, Ireland, Europe, but also globally as well. So obviously the initial ideas for the month of June will get released this evening, but that article will get updated over the next few days with information regarding stats for the month of May and the spring season overall. So you can see here for the month of May, we've got areas of warmer and cooler. No surprise there, but what has surprised me a little bit is the areas of cool on the CDAS has stood out a little bit more compared to recent months. We've got quite a large area of Africa actually below average, if you notice. Yes, we've got the spots above average naturally, but nevertheless, if we look specifically at Africa, this is the month of May in terms of temperature anomalies, and there's quite a large area of cool. Sub-Saharan and Saharan East Africa has seen quite a large scale below average. We've also seen that through the equatorial region and also Southern Africa as well below average. We've got obviously some areas of firmly warmer than average, but quite a mixture of warm versus cool. It's probably a 50-50, possibly just a slight lean towards the continent being a little bit below average compared to warmer than average, which is quite interesting to see. Looking at the Asian continent, then you can see very firmly below average across India. So the majority of India has been below average, which a lot of media sources wouldn't have you know that. But a lot of the reasons for that is because we've seen some very widespread pre-monsoon showers and thunderstorms. We've seen many areas with record flooding, etc., etc. And as a consequence of all this convection and pre-monsoon activity, we've been seeing below average temperatures as a consequence. Southern China has been below average, northern China above, with exceptions of Inner Mongolia. Far northern China has actually been below average. Quite an interesting strip of cool across much of Russia. And obviously Central and Eastern Europe has been below average during the month of May as well. You can see slightly below average across Vietnam, but the majority of the Southeast Asian land area here has been warmer than average with the exceptions of Myanmar. So basically India, Bangladesh, into Myanmar has been quite widely below average, which I think is quite interesting. In stark contrast, we've obviously seen West Central Asia with remarkable heat. This very persistent blocked pattern, not just for Europe, but across the Northern Hemisphere. Where you've been stuck under the ridge, you've seen warm and dry. We've seen that in Western Europe. We've seen that over West Central Asia, where we've seen all-time record heat being established for the month of May. And then where you're stuck under the trough, in other words, parts of Asia, but also Eastern Europe, we've seen cooler and wetter than average conditions as a result of that. Then moving on, let's have a look at Europe. It's been very much an east-west split. Warmer and drier in the west, cooler and wetter in the central and eastern side of the continent. GH saying, Gary here watching in Tandragee, Northern Ireland. Routine viewer of your daily vids, but the first time catching you live. Off to Alicante, 10th of June. Any idea how hot it might get with the plume of African heat nearby? Very possible, GH, that we could see some significant warmth even around that time. I think we are going to see that period, end of June, in the first week of June, into the second week of June, we could see some very significant warmth, even by June standards, by the way, moving northwards out of Africa, across Iberia, France, and into the UK. But again, we will look in a little while at the month of June in terms of my outlook. So stay tuned for that, and enjoy your holiday in Alicante. I'm not jealous in the slightest. So anyway, let's move on to the North American side of the Atlantic. And we've had quite a mixture of extremes. We've seen temperatures into the Arctic of Canada as high as 34 Celsius in recent days. We've seen temperatures into the hundreds across the Central Valley of California over the last couple of days as well. Temperatures into the teens, 116 degrees in the Death Valley area, which is obviously the hottest location within North America anyway, but some very intense heat to end the month of May in California and the desert southwest. But we've also seen areas of cool. So the month of May has been particularly chilly, anywhere from New Mexico, North Texas, through the Central Plains, up into the Tennessee, Ohio Valley, into the Great Lakes, into the northeastern region of the United States. But we've got this area of cool that also incorporates the majority of Ontario, Quebec, Labrador, Newfoundland, the maritime region, firmly below average here for the month of May. We've had a very warm, very dry South Florida, by the way. Florida's been warmer and drier than average, but down towards the, I don't know if you've seen anything on social media about the lack of rainfall down across the Lake Okeechobee, the Everglades region of South Florida. Very, very concerning situation there. Looks as if it's the driest situation there for late spring since 2012. So not a great situation down there. Need a couple of tropical systems to move into that region to replenish the soils, I would imagine. But so the far southeast has been below average. The Tennessee, Ohio Valley firmly below average, and then we've got the Great Basin up into the Northern Rockies, the Northern Plains states, and through the prairie provinces of Canada has been warmer than average, but quite large areas of below average, which really I think is quite interesting given, just the general trend over recent months and even recent years in terms of warmth. So that is that. Let's have a look at South America then for the month of May, and you can see here Colombia and Venezuela has actually been leaning more cooler than average, but pretty much all of Brazil, with exceptions of the far northwest and the far east, is largely warmer than average across Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, and the northern side of Argentina and Chile has been warmer than average here. Peru has been a bit of a mix between warm and slightly below average here. Then moving down into Australia, let's not forget our friends down in Australia and New Zealand. How has the month of May looked here? Quite a large area of actually average to below average, with the exceptions of parts of the north, west and east of Australia. In terms of New Zealand, largely warmer than average, a little bit closer to average across the central region of the North Island. Looking at the spring as a whole then over the last 90 days, and we'll just quickly scoot through this. Looking at the global view, and you can see here that we've got quite a large area of warmer than average, not as much in the way of blues representing below average. Much of Argentina's actually had a slightly cooler than average spring. That equatorial region of Africa staying below average with a warm north and south. The real standout, I think, is Europe and West Asia. Northern Asia as well, very warm compared to average. That's why I'm kind of slightly surprised at the month of May being quite cool. Overall, when you factor in the last 90 days, many areas are seeing warmer than average. Glory to Jesus. Good evening to you. I hope you're well. My sister and her daughter just set sail from Southampton on a cruise on the Independence of the Sea. Beautiful. Lucky you. I am just a little bit jealous, I have to be honest. Hope you have a wonderful trip. And are you out in the open seas at the moment? Let me know. So yeah, my sister and her daughter. Right, okay. So not yourself, but your sister and daughter have just set sail from Southampton. I hope they have a wonderful time and yeah, wonderful stuff. So yes, let me just see here what else is going on here. Let's have a quick look at a couple of things with regards to the extremes taking place around the world. Then we will look at some of the June ideas. So this is some tweets of Weather Monitor on Twitter. And you can see here, we've actually got, as well as heavy rainfall in parts of India, we've also got, this is probably what I'm assuming is the foothills of the Himalayas, heavy fresh snowfall in the Pir Kai Gali region of India with 3 to 4 inches already accumulated. Snow continues to fall at a moderate pace, creating a beautiful wintry scene. So very nice conditions. So obviously heavy monsoon or pre-monsoon rains at low levels. We are seeing some heavy snowfall at high elevations. This was the scene, by the way, shocking incident in Yunnan, China. So this was, I believe, this morning. A riverside building collapsed on the 31st of May in Newjiang Prefecture after heavy rainfall battered the region. Check this out. So yeah, that is obviously quite a sad scene coming out of Yunnan in China earlier on this Saturday. Good evening as well to Trevor Hall. Good evening, Mark, from a cool, misty south coast. Good evening to you, Trevor. Hope you're well and having a nice Saturday so far, my friend. Let's have a quick look and see here what else I can show. So I'm kind of bouncing back and forth as I often do on these lives. This was the scene, by the way, in Babusar Top in Pakistan. Again, high elevations. We're seeing heavy snowfall. And obviously, we've been seeing some extreme heat in lower elevations of Pakistan as well. This was the scene, by the way, in Alexandria, Egypt today. So again, Saturday. Typically one of the driest parts of the world as well, by the way. So this is even more interesting. Very, very nasty situation. Certainly our thoughts and prayers are with the folks of Alexandria in Egypt. Again, this was the scene, intense hailstorms as well as flooding. So that's that in the Alexandria region of Egypt. This is again heavy rainfall, pre-monsoon rains in parts of India. And a lot of the reasons why, by the way, we're seeing this early onset of the monsoon is we've seen the convection become quite amplified over the Indian Ocean due to the Mann-Julian oscillation. That has been instigating a bit of a kick to this early monsoon onset, but it's also affecting much of Southeast Asia. So the southwest monsoon is becoming quite widespread. So scenes like this in India, Pakistan, is reasonably common when you've got the MJO in that part of the world. But certainly a lot of flash flood videos coming out of this part of the world. Let's just see here what else I can show. Yep, Thailand. We've also been seeing some flash flooding in parts of Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia as well. That's the Karnataka region of India. And this is a lot of the reasons why obviously we're seeing the below average month in terms of temperatures. This is also the scene, by the way, in Bucharest, Romania, due to heavy flooding rains. This was in Nigeria. Yeah, that's the scenes in the nation of Nigeria. Let me just see here what else I can show. We'll talk a little bit about heat. And this was, by the way, this was a very devastating situation. This big landslide that took place in Blatten in Switzerland, where a massive glacier collapsed on the 28th of May, buried nearly 90% of the village under debris. The collapse of the Birch Glacier triggered a powerful landslide that blocked the Lonza River, forming a temporary lake and dramatically increasing the risk of downstream flooding. This was all over social media over the last few days, in fact, and certainly our thoughts and prayers are with the folks of Blatten in Switzerland. So yeah, lots of stuff coming out of there. Again, this was the scenes in parts of Romania. So yeah, pretty nasty stuff. Obviously, we've seen quite a lot of back and forth extremes over Far Eastern Europe throughout the course of this year so far. So let me see here. Let's have a quick check up on some of the temperatures. Again, that's in Kerala in India. So let me see here. Extreme temperatures around the world. Always a good Twitter page to follow. Talks about all the records that are taking place all over the world. So like Paul James says, only 8 likes at the moment here. So please hit that like button. Doesn't cost you a single penny. It also doesn't cost you a penny to subscribe to Mark Fogan Weather here on YouTube as well. Looking at things across UK, Ireland, Europe, but also globally, including the tropics. Each and every Saturday I'll do a tropical outlook. There will be a tropical outlook tomorrow. So lots of content, 7 days a week here on the channel. It is absolutely free. So big heat obviously down across parts of Spain, Portugal and France. I think today is day 3 above 40 across parts of Spain. We've seen the 40 degree mark reached in Portugal. Even in the southern portions of France, we've been seeing temperatures as high as 36, 37 degrees Celsius. So very, very exceptional heat across the southwest of Europe to end spring and open the summer season. Continuing to look through here then. South American cold spell. This is quite an interesting one. Moving away from heat. We're talking about some cold. Obviously, we're now beginning the winter season across the South American and obviously across the southern hemisphere as a whole. An early wintry cold spell is sweeping South America with cold air reaching the tropics. So it's reaching the Amazon basin. In the northeast of Argentina, the town of Bernardo de Irigayon. My pronunciations are shocking. Sorry. Anyway, this place in northeastern Argentina had a maximum temperature of just 7.3, which is a new record for the month of May for the lowest maximum. So yeah, some interesting cold records being achieved across parts of the tropics of South America. And again, the record heat across parts of Canada. There is a connection, by the way, between the heat going on in North America and what we may see in a week or so's time here in Europe as well. So more on that in just a second. What time is it? It is now 7 o'clock. So yeah, making okay time. We're halfway through today's live stream. Be sure to hit that like button, folks. I would greatly appreciate that. Deluges in Australia. Remember, MJO, connection between South Asia and Australia. In the past days, heavy rainfalls battered Western Australia and Northern Territory with several records. Also records of May lowest maximums fell 27, 28 and 29 in the Northern Territories and Queensland. So we're seeing record cool temperatures and heavy record rains. Again, it's all associated with that amplified MJO moving through the Eastern Hemisphere. Temperatures, like I say, into the 40s across Spain and Portugal, as high as 41 in Rota, 3 Celsius above the old record. That's a furrowed margin of record. Temperatures in the southwest United States, 46.7 or 116 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're seeing some hot temperatures in the southwest. 30 degrees Celsius on the Arctic Circle of Russia. And as well as that, we're seeing that across parts of northern North America. 41.6 in El Grande in Spain. It's one of the hottest spring days in European history with widespread 35 plus in Spain, Portugal and southern France. So very hot conditions here. We may see some of this heat getting lifted north due to that Rossby wave breaking in the Atlantic. We've got a lot of heat stored up to the south. All it takes is areas of low pressure to wind up to the west and it pulls that warmth northwards. So yes, we will be continuing the over the next few days. Middle East heat, that's been a story throughout the month of May. We've been seeing temperatures into the 50s now, unusually so for so early in the season. All-time record minimums being achieved in parts of Pakistan and into Iran. We're seeing nighttime temperatures only dropping to 35 Celsius. Brutal stuff indeed. Let me just see here what else I can show. So temperatures up into the Hay River area of Northwestern Territories. Hottest spring day on record here, 34.3 Celsius. So the high latitudes is experiencing remarkably warm temperatures over the past few days. And even in the East Asia, Siberia, as high as 35 Celsius. But we're seeing heavy rainfall. We're seeing below average temperatures. Again, Vietnam minimum temperatures are only 30 Celsius. Do you want to see the June ideas? Let's get to that then and rattle on. Adam Blunston saying, don't forget the MJO going forecast into phases 6 and 7 into June. Yes, we're seeing that eastward progress, Adam, of the MJO. It's not sticking around. We are going to actually see a drop-off in the monsoon activity over India, even over Southeast Asia. It's going to become drier over the next week or so here. So we're going to start to see things quietening down in this part of the world. We're probably going to see an uptick in temperatures, in fact. But as that MJO moves into the Pacific, that is what's going to kind of help potentially bring some heat into the west of Europe here. So, yeah, let's get to it then. So the article hasn't been completed yet, but I should have it released later on this evening on Marfogan Weather. There will be a link left in the description below for that. So how many concurrent viewers have we got at the moment here? We've got 28 concurrent viewers. A massive thank you for tuning in on this Saturday evening to the 143rd edition of the Global Weather Report, live here from Marfogan Weather HQ in Edmonton. The sun is shining now. We've seen off and on sunshine and showers throughout the course of the day. That's been the story to end the month of May and obviously spring as a whole. So let's get to it anyway. So the month of June, hard to believe it. Despite the unsettled end to May and likely wipeout of it being one of the driest, overall spring 2025 will go down as one of the mildest and driest on record. It has become the sunniest on record for the UK. I believe so for Ireland, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But certainly it has been the sunniest for much of the UK. I think as a whole it's been the sunniest. And it is still going to be one of the warmest, driest springs on record for the UK and Ireland and central areas of Europe as well. So for Europe as a whole, May was warm and dry in the west, cooler and wetter in the east. So this is the month of May, according to CDAS, quite a cool area there across East Central Europe, firmly warmer and drier across UK and Ireland here. Arguably, it's actually the warmest compared to normal anywhere in Europe, bang slap over the UK. Again, like we've seen throughout the course of the spring, somewhat cooler across Iberia, thanks to low pressure being trapped underneath the block of high pressure. Spring as a whole has been firmly warmer than average for Europe, except for Iberia, due to what I've just explained. So this is the temperature anomalies for the month of March, April and May combined. So the past 90 days, firmly warmer than average with the exceptions of Iberia here. So a reason behind such a blocked hemispheric pattern, I think, is due to that early, second earliest final stratospheric warming on record, the earliest being 2016, I think. And I think that's at least in part the reason why we've seen such a persistently blocked, dry and sunny spring. In fact, this spring's been one of, it would be sunnier than some of the summers, many of the summers that have gone by as well, which is quite interesting. So we're obviously seeing an unsettled end to spring and beginning to meteorological summer. The persistent block and high that we've become so accustomed to for weeks now feels like a distant memory, obviously, following the dramatic shift through the final week of May and spring. That shift could well be down to the MJO waking up over the Indo-Pacific region. That has been then causing the jet stream to the north to become stronger, extending out over the Pacific. Rossby wave train has then been triggered. So we're going to see an eastward progress of the Rossby wave, and we're going to start to see our wave break ripple its way across the northern hemisphere. So obviously we've got a lot of heat built up to the south. With these wave breaks, there is an opportunity to see some of that heat getting lifted north. We're seeing that already in parts of Asia and North America, where we're seeing temperatures into the 30s up towards the Arctic Circle and beyond that. But you can see here the large-scale upward motion represented in the greens. We've got large-scale sinking, where you've got the oranges taking place. And the MJO has really been fairly quiet over recent weeks here. I think a lot of it's been due to that final stratospheric warming. So this increase in convection is causing the strengthening of the Pacific and the Atlantic jet stream, hence why we've got the return of the westerlies, not just across North America, but also across Europe. So an increase in convection has brought a fast, furious onset to the Asian monsoon and increased flood potential across Southeast Asia. So obviously everything's interconnected. However, the large-scale upward motion and its now eastward progression looks likely to set off a chain reaction into June and meteorological summer. So this is the ideas for the upcoming summer. I think what's been taking place over the Indo-Pacific region within the tropics has then led to this unsettled end to the month of May, and it's creating a chain reaction across the hemisphere. So the convection within the tropics moves east. So does a Rossby wave to the north, and is causing a wave breaking like a ripple effect within the atmosphere. Extreme heat is present both over North America and the Africa-Europe region. The atmospheric wave breaking is sucking heat out of the subtropics towards the temperate latitudes, and this shall continue through the month of June. So we've obviously got a cool, unsettled start to the month of June and meteorological summer. We've got an area of low pressure that is going to drag a cold front, bringing warmth today, getting replaced by something fresher and cooler tomorrow. So we're going to see this dance between high and low pressure to start off meteorological summer, but there's a concern over some remarkable heat for so early in the season anyway, lifting north from week 1 into week 2 for Western Europe, including the UK and Ireland. So I do think we may see some lobes of major heat coming northwards. The details remain uncertain and complex, but higher pressure. So we start summer and June, beginning tomorrow, off with low pressure dominating the UK and Ireland here. But I think we're going to see higher pressure building back in as we step out of week 1 into week 2 of June. So towards the middle portion of the month, a few northward pulses of heat could send the temperatures into the 30s as far north as England. So the CFSV2, this is the 500 millibars for the next 7 days. Low pressure to the north, high pressure down across the south of Europe here. Plenty of warmth across this part of the world. But remember what's going on over North America and over the Atlantic Basin. Changes here is likely to pull the high back north. And then by the time this is week 2, into week 3, you can see the high becoming re-established. What that's going to do is it's going to allow a wetter than average beginning of the month to turn drier than average. This is week 2. Week 1, wetter than average. Into week 2, into week 3, we're seeing a drier than average signal showing up on the models. So my overall thinking is high pressure builds towards the middle of the month. We're going to see some heat associated with that. Southerly winds. We've got a lot of heat stored up to the south that will turn north. And then we're going to potentially see a period of more settled. Now, we are going to continue to see unsettled conditions, especially west and north of the UK and Ireland. But I think even here, we're going to see that low pull into the north. We're going to get into more finer, sunnier, warmer weather as a consequence. The overall thinking is that perhaps towards the end of the month, we may revert back to lower pressure and a bit more unsettled. But my overall thinking for the month of June is warmer than normal for the UK and Ireland as a whole, potentially wetter to the west and north, and drier to the further south and east you go over the continent. So that's the month of June in terms of the ideas, and I've explained to you the reasons why this high is likely to build from the south. So it's a different type of high to what we've seen throughout the spring with that kind of blocking scenario. I think it's going to be high pressure building to the north. Always that chance of Atlantic weather running around the top of the high, so it may be a bit of a slow process, especially across western and northern areas of the UK and Ireland, to get into this warmer, better weather. But overall, June, warmer than average pretty much across the board. But particularly so the north, I think it may be a wetter than average June. Further south, I think it's going to be a drier than average June. So, like I say, this written article will get released shortly this evening on my website, marvinweather.com. Let's have a quick look then at the weather charts here and see what it's indicating in terms of surges of warmth coming north. So we've obviously got this area of low pressure that is kind of pulling in across the top of the UK. That's going to increase all sorts of instability with some incoming solar radiation that then destabilizes the atmosphere even more, enhances the lift. So plenty of showers and thunderstorms, not so much thunderstorms, but plenty of showers anyway. Some localized thunderstorms may blossom up with a cooler mid and upper levels of the atmosphere through the course of tomorrow and into Monday as well. That then feature moves out of the way. Then we've got a little ridge of high pressure that builds in during the course of Monday. The next area of low pressure moves in, bringing a spell of wind and rain. That's quite a deep low, by the way, for early June, according to the GFS model. In terms of the mean sea level pressure, you can see how anomalously deep this is for the first few days of June. So to get an area of low pressure into the low 970s and millibars in early June is pretty deep, I must admit. So we'll go back to the overview chart, play through this. You can see here that area of low pressure continues to churn along, more systems riding underneath. And that looks as if that's going to continue according to GFS all the way out towards the 7th, 8th of the month. Then continue to play through. You can see the high trying to start to exert some sort of influence on the UK and Ireland by the time we reach, Wednesday the 11th, Thursday the 12th of June. But let's have a look at the 850s. This is what I'm curious about. Go back to the here and now. We've got that flirt with some warmth down across the southeast of the UK at the moment. That low then brings in some fresher air. More cool conditions come in around the base of these lows. Continue to play through. Not a huge amount of warm air coming northwards by the looks of it. And then towards the end of the run, you can see here the 20 Celsius isotherm, or 15 Celsius isotherm, should I say, flirting with the southeast. That 10 Celsius isotherm runs up into the north of the UK. So I've got 32 concurrent viewers at the moment. I hope you're enjoying the content. If you are, be sure to hit that like button. It really does me a favour. And if you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button. Content 7 days a week, absolutely free here on the channel. Let's have a quick look then at the ECMWF. And it's been a little bit more bullish in recent times of seeing these lobes of heat coming northwards. You can see here, play through the loop area of low pressure, quite deep, moving in, bringing in some fresher air across the UK and Ireland. Continue to play through. You can see all the warmth it built up to the south. And then as we move towards the end of the period, is it pulling any major heat? Well, the latest runs of the ECMWF, a little bit slower in showing some of this really warm air coming northwards here. The models are going to go back and forth because it is quite a complex situation. So what do you think about the June ideas? I'd be curious to know what you think. And it'll be interesting to see how warm it gets. Lindsay's tuning in from Dingwall. She is working. She must be getting a little bit of a skive through in the back shop, I would imagine. But thanks for tuning in, Lindsay. And I hope your work is going okay. We've also got Eddie tuning in. Good evening to you. Eddie says, roll on autumn. Frog's Legs Matthew, uncomfortable heat, especially for sleeping at night. That is very true. And I know a lot of people don't like the heat. We've also got William McKendry tuning in. Hi, Mark. Thanks for the updates and live chat. Wills from All Ness. Good evening to you, William. I hope you and your good lady are keeping well in sunny All Ness. The sun is now shining once again. It's actually turned out to be quite a nice evening, I have to say, here in the north of Scotland. So yeah, so we'll continue to watch, obviously, the European pattern as we progress through the upcoming work week. Let's finish off then by looking at some of the temperatures across the planet. So this is obviously the current temperatures across Europe, and we've got plenty of heat, especially down across Iberia and France, and even into the southeast of the British Isles here. We're talking about temperatures into the mid and even just a notch into the high 20s here. If you notice, across parts of East Anglia, we've got a 25, a 26 around the Lake and Heath area of what is that, Norfolk and Suffolk. Yep, and then we've also got temperatures into the low 20s all the way up into the northeast of England. If you notice, further west and north, you've got cooler, fresher conditions, only 14, 15 Celsius through the central belt. And then further north you go, again, a mixture of low teens to high teens. But zooming out, let's have a quick look and see what the rest of the hemisphere is looking. So we've got plenty of warmth again across Iberia into the north of Africa at the moment. We're talking about temperatures into the high 30s. Well, not really a surprise here for the western flank of the Sahara. And then as you go into sub-Saharan Africa, this is where we've been seeing some extreme heat across Mauritania, Mali, even Senegal. We've been seeing mid to upper 40s in recent days here. And then moving across to parts of South America through the tropical regions, where we're generally talking about low to mid 30s here. Through the Caribbean, again, we've got the temperatures into the mid to even high 30s across parts of Central America, through the Caribbean islands as well. Some very, very hot conditions here under sunny skies. and not a huge amount of shower activity. Where you don't have any shower activity, we're generally seeing some very hot conditions as a consequence. Plenty of warmth across the southern tier of the United States at the moment here. Fresher up into the northeast of the country. And then, like I was saying, we're talking about some very significant heat all the way up into the Northwest Territories. Not quite so much heat to speak about through this afternoon. Still a little bit early in the day across the western side of North America in particular. We're talking about mid-morning, early morning in fact, so that's why we're not seeing any extreme heat here at the moment due to the time of day. Moving then across the Pacific into parts of Asia, and you can see here, again, this is now overnight period, so temperatures are coming down here, but we're talking about generally mid-20s overnight across parts of southeastern China into the Southeast Asia region. Again, you're talking 20s throughout the course of the night. It's the tropics, of course, here. And then let's have a quick look at the lightning activity across the world. Lots of thunder and lightning associated with the frontal system exiting the southeast United States. So lots of lightning activity here. Not so much across the heart of the Caribbean due to, it's a little bit earlier in the day as well. You start to get the convection building as we progress late morning into the afternoon hours. Got a few thunderstorms across the far west of equatorial Africa. A couple of lightning strikes being detected across parts of far western Libya into eastern Algeria. Lots of activity across Iberia, hence why we've got a little bit of a decrease in temperature here compared to the last few days. Still might have a rogue 40 across southwestern Iberia, but there's a lot of lightning activity across central and eastern Iberia and into France, into the parts of the Low Countries, western Germany. We've got quite a lot of unsettled conditions across western portions of mainland Europe. We've got a few lightning detections to the south of Crete, over Turkey. Western Russia's seeing some lightning activity at the moment here, and it's generally fairly quiet across Eastern Asia. So, I have to be honest and say I'm pretty knackered. It's been a very long day, coming off the night shift last night, going shopping with the good lady, and then trying to do the June outlook. Did a pre-recorded video, the tropical outlook for tomorrow. So yes, I hope you've enjoyed this evening's live stream. It will be back to business as usual next week with the tropical outlook on Saturday, and the live stream I think will be 4 p.m. as usual next Sunday. So stay tuned for that. The hurricane forecast has been released obviously last night. Check that out at marvelingweather.com. The June outlook will be released this evening on marvelingweather.com as well. And obviously, this upcoming work week, as always, it'll be a full package, Monday to Friday, the European outlook. So I hope you can join me for that. Paul says, my son is on honeymoon in Japan. Congratulations to your son and his new wife. I hope they're having a wonderful time in Japan. Japan is a beautiful country, I have to say. I'm fortunate to have been there myself. I hope they have a wonderful honeymoon, Paul, in the Far East. So, I think that is about it. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday and your weekend. Do tune in to the Tropical Outlook tomorrow. It's roughly a half an hour long. It's actually a wee bit longer because I was explaining a little bit about the hurricane ideas as well in the forecast. So you can check that out at your leisure tomorrow. So yes, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much to Paul James, to Frog's Eggs Matthew, Glory to Jesus, Chris A, to Matt, to who else here? Adam Bloodston, to Lindsay for tuning in briefly. Thanks to the moderators, obviously, Paul James and Sing Splint for tuning in, and obviously briefly Lindsay. Keith Fletcher, thank you very much for tuning in as well. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.